Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Apil. Here are news making headlines beyond the continent. We begin the news in Asia, where protesters opposed to South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol react after investigators halted their attempts to arrest him on Friday. South Korean investigators abandoned their attempts to arrest impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol at his residence on Friday over a failed martial law bid, citing safety concerns after a standoff with his security team. Yoon, who has already been suspended from duty by lawmakers, would become the first sitting president in South Korean history to be arrested if the warrant is carried out. The president, who issued a bungled declaration on December 3rd that shook the vibrant East Asian democracy and briefly launched it back to the dark days of military rule, faces imprisonment or, at worst, the death penalty.
지금 신속하게 윤석열이 체포되지 않고 그리고 그들이 체포에 지금 저항하고 신속히 응하지 않는 것에 굉장히 분노하는 마음으로 이 자리에 바로 뛰쳐나오게 되었습니다. 굉장히 답답하고 그리고 지금 내란 사태가 지금 국민들의 심리적으로 위축하게 만들었는데 이런 상황이 더 길게 장기적으로 이어질 것 같아서 굉장히 암울한 마음이 들었습니다.
그 영장이 발부되고 나서부터 언제 집행되나 사실 오매불망 기다렸습니다. 오늘 아침에 일어나서 공수처에서 출발했다는 소식 듣고 걔도 반드시 체포되기를 간절히 바랬는데요. 올라오면서 이 공수처가 물러갔다는 소식 듣고 정말 허탈하고 분노하고 정말 이 답답한 마음을 이를 데가 없습니다. 그래서 오늘 반드시 윤석열을 체포하고 우리 법의 심판대에 올려놓고 저는 대구로 내려갈 생각입니다. 너무 방송을 보면서 너무 답답한 마음이 많이 들었고요. 이게 국가기관이 제대로 법이 제대로 작동하지 않고 국가기관이 윤석열을 체포하지 못하면 우리 국민들의 힘으로 민주노총의 힘으로 반드시 윤석열을 체포해야겠다는 마음으로 이 자리에 함께하고 있습니다.
Now joining us on the news to discuss this is the foreign policy analyst Bolu Michael B. He joins us from Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Well, Michael, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Let's get started by asking what problems might investigators face when trying to arrest or impeach the impeached president, especially when there are guards and supporters stopping them.
Well, I think the first thing, as we would expect, is that the the president's security forces would put in place physical barriers. I think that's the first thing that first challenge might face. This will prevent them from moving into the president's residence to execute the arrest. So this would definitely prevent them from going in. And another challenge is the president's supporters, the protesting, near his residence. They outnumber the investigators. The president's security forces as well outnumber the investigators. So even if the president's security forces do not want to, act in a way that would obstruct the arrest, the president's supporters protesting because they outnumbered security forces might act, in such manner. Another thing is the time constraint. They have January 6th to execute the arrest warrant, and as the day draws closer, the investigators would feel much more pressure, to act and do something. Also, they might also face the challenge of firearms. The protesters may be armed in some way, not sure, but definitely the president's security forces are armed. So if the investigators, they act in an arbitrary manner, we could see a situation where we're having a crossfire, and hopefully that doesn't happen.
Can you give us an idea into the dynamics of how this issue is currently, with the president having security forces and also supporters blocking the arrest? How will this affect people's view of law in South Korea and governance generally?
Okay, I think the biggest reaction will come from South Korea's allies, because they will begin to question South Korea's commitment to the values of democracy and the rule of law. I think people will begin to lose trust in the government. They have this loss of confidence in the capacity of the government to enforce the law, and this situation might embolden, political actors as well as the public to defy legal authority, and this sets a negative precedent for a country like South Korea, which has managed to keep a relatively good reputation in terms of their political stability. But what's going on right now could also be a reflection of a weakened institution, whereby people begin to question the ability of the state to override presidential powers.
Now, with only 48 hours to arrest President Yoon, what steps do you think investigators should take to get past the security forces and still follow the law at the same time?
Well, they have an acting president in place. I think, because he's part of the government, there's not much difference in terms of the status quo, in terms of leadership. But I think a first step would be to ask the acting president to order the president's security forces to stand down and let them, and let the investigators do their job. But another option that they have is to go after or to investigate and, if possible, detain the key figures within the president's security forces. When the head is attacked in any way, to weaken the body. Even the Holy Book said that if the eye be sound, the whole body will be full of life. So it means that if the head is not sound, the whole body will be weakened as well. So whether it's a snake or a mosquito or a human being you want to get rid of, you go for the head and it weakens the body. So if they go for the key figures within the presidential security forces and there's nobody to really keep the orders, it will weaken the chain of command. And the third option I think they might want to explore is to actually negotiate with the legal team of the president. He has legitimate fears like life imprisonment and things like that. So if they could give certain assurances, I think the impeached president would himself, turn himself in.
Oh, Bulu Michael, not just life imprisonment, there's also the touting of the death penalty. Let's remember that. Do you think this is actually the main reason why he's refusing to cooperate with investigators? And perhaps maybe this is the reason why he's encouraged his supporters to protect him, even though he's under investigation for serious charges. Do you think?
I think several factors, multiple factors. I think the fear of the consequences is a major one. Fear of the death penalty or life imprisonment. It could also be a political strategy because when politicians act victim, it gives a potential. There's a potential that they will garner the public support, in a way. And if he believes that he has acted in the interest of the country, then if he believes he's innocent, then he would definitely be defiant and not want to lose his position. And another reason might be security concerns. You see, he's not even been arrested yet. There's chaos. What if he now gets arrested? Then that could lead to a major civil unrest. So he might be deciding to not turn himself in just to ensure that the current instability is not worsened. And I think another reason why he might be defiant is because he's exploring the loopholes in the legal system. For example, when the January 6th referendum lapses, it would render it ineffective. So he might be delaying to explore the loopholes in the legal system, and this delay tactic may turn out to be in his favor. So there's several factors, but I think one primary reason would be the fear of consequences, that is life imprisonment and possibly death.
Well, thank you very much, Willow Michael, for giving us your expert opinion on the issue. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And moving on, let's also tell you that South Korea's Transport Ministry says inspections of all 101 Boeing 737-800 jets operated by South Korea's airlines have been extended for another week, as authorities began lifting the wreckage of the Jeju Air plane following the country's worst aviation disaster. A ministry official told reporters on Friday that the inspections of the Boeing jets were supposed to be completed on Friday, but were extended to January 10 for additional checks, such as whether airlines spent enough time carrying out maintenance and secured parts for repairs. A total of 179 people were killed on Sunday after Jeju Air Flight 2216 from Thailand to South Korea skidded and crashed while trying to land at Muan International Airport southwest of the capital, Seoul. Only 2 people survived the incident. Now, China on Friday says it would take all necessary measures in response to the United States announcing it was considering restrictions on commercial Chinese drones for national security reasons. Recall that on Thursday, the United States Commerce Department said it was considering new rules to address risk posed by drones made with technology from foreign adversaries such as China and Russia. Regulations or prohibitions on Chinese drones, which control the majority of the worldwide market, may result from the attempts. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning responded to a question regarding the possible restrictions on Friday by accusing the United States of generalizing the concept of national security, interfering and restricting normal economic and trade exchanges, and undermining the security and stability of global production and supply chains.
一贯坚决反对美方泛化国家安全概念，干扰和限制正常的经贸往来，破坏全球产供链的安全稳定。我们将采取一切必要措施，坚定维护自身的合法权益。
U.S. President Joe Biden says he has blocked the proposed $14.9 billion purchase of U.S. steel by Japanese rival Nippon Steel. His executive order was announced by the White House, which cited credible evidence that the company would act in a way that could jeopardize American national security. Biden decided to block the deal despite intense efforts to sway him in recent days by some of his senior advisors who reportedly warned that rejecting a sizable investment from a top Japanese corporation like Nippon Steel could damage Washington's relations with Tokyo. And in more news, President Joe Biden has awarded Liz Cheney, a former Republican congresswoman, with Presidential Citizen Medal. Cheney was recognized for putting the people over party and her exemplary service to the country. Biden presented the medal to Cheney and 19 other recipients during a ceremony. The award honors individuals who have performed exemplary deeds of service for their country and fellow citizens. Cheney has been a vocal critic of former President Donald Trump and has faced backlash from her own party. The Presidential Citizen Medal is one of the highest civilian honors in the United States. It recognizes individuals who have made significant contributions to the country.
The Citizens Medal recognizes, quote, citizens of the United States of America who performed exemplary deeds of service to their country and to their fellow citizens.
We're going to break now, and when we return, Israeli attacks killed dozens. Ceasefire talks set to resume. We'll have the details and more after. Welcome back. Now, the man who drove a pickup truck into people celebrating the New Year in New Orleans is believed to have acted alone, as new information was revealed about the two improvised explosive devices recovered near the scene. There is also no definitive link between the attack and Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas, according to the FBI. Shamsuddin Jabbar rented truck jammed into people in New Orleans' famous Bourbon Street, killing 14 and injuring 12 in the early hours of New Year's Day. News Central's international correspondent Afia Hagen has more.
A U.S. Army veteran loyal to the Islamic State jihadist group likely acted alone when he killed 14 and injured dozens in a truck attack on a crowd of New Year revelers in New Orleans, the FBI have said. Despite initial concerns that Shamsuddin Jabbar had accomplices still on the run, preliminary investigations show he likely acted alone. Jabbar had planted 2 homemade bombs in drinks coolers in the French Quarter streets. The bombs were viable and, according to President Joe Biden, had remote detonators but were made safe in time. In New Orleans' French Quarter, the heart of the area's famous nightlife, Bourbon Street was freshly scrubbed and open for business. And after a 24-hour delay due to the violence, the city staged the major Sugar Bowl college football game in its Superdome. The stadium will also host the NFL Super Bowl championship game in February.
I see a lot of law enforcement. Unfortunately, it was a tragedy probably that they had to amp up security, but from that perspective, I feel it's very safe right now. Last night we were walking around and there was a lot of extra security coming in. we could tell that Louisiana, the State Patrol was coming in. And again, unfortunate, but yet it made us feel better.
The terrifying New Year's attack came 3 weeks before Trump takes over as president. The Republican has used the mayhem to push his anti-immigrant agenda, despite the slain killer being a US-born citizen. Overnight, Trump again took to social media to link the attack to open borders. In a lengthy rant, he berated law enforcement for attacking their political opponent, me, rather than focusing on protecting Americans from the outside and inside violent scum. Claiming the USA is breaking down, Trump said, without giving details, he went on to say the CIA must get involved. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagen.
U.S. authorities say they do not know yet why a suspect blew up a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas, an incident that investigators are probing as a potential act of terror. The motivation at this point is unknown, according to FBI Special Agent Spencer Evans, who spoke to reporters, adding that it was not lost on agents that the blast took place in front of a hotel linked to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, with Tesla owned by prominent Trump backer Elon Musk.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're running down investigative leads around the world. No information that we're aware of right now that connects this individual to any terrorist organization around the world. But that's obviously the thrust of the investigation, is ruling out that there's any sort of terrorism nexus, and then again, getting at what the ideology is. As pointed out, we feel that the subject has been identified, although not conclusively, waiting for DNA evidence on that front. However, we do feel like we have the subject identified, and at this time there is no information about additional subjects that the FBI is tracking on.
We believe the question is, was the gunshot self-inflicted? And we do believe it was, since he was the only person in the vehicle, and it occurred immediately prior to the vehicle blowing up. His body is burnt beyond recognition, and I do still not have confirmation 100% that that is the individual that was inside of our vehicle. And so, as I'm calling it now, the subject or person of interest, I will not come back until I have the confirmation through DNA or medical records that this is indeed, in fact, the subject inside of the vehicle.
At least 30 Palestinians have been killed in multiple Israeli attacks on Gaza as high-level negotiations prepare to resume stalled ceasefire talks. Staff at the Al-Aqsa Matters Hospital in central Gaza said on Friday that more than a dozen women and children were among those killed in strikes on the Nuseirat refugee camp in Az-Zawayada, Al-Maghazi camp, and the Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Medical sources told newsmen that at least 19 people were killed in the attacks in central Gaza. Israeli fighter jets destroyed buildings in the center of the strip, killing journalist Omar al-Dikul in his home in Al-Zawayda, the second journalist to be killed in 24 hours. Now, during a visit to Damascus on Friday to meet with new leader Ahmed al-Sharaa, top French and German diplomats stated that the European Union supports a peaceful, inclusive transition in Syria. France Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot and his German counterpart Annalena Baerbock were in the Syrian capital for talks on behalf of European Union in the highest level visit by major Western powers since Islamist-led forces toppled longtime ruler Bashar al-Assad last month.
Quelques semaines, un nouvel espoir s'est levé, l'espoir d'une Syrie souveraine, d'une Syrie stable et d'une Syrie apaisée. Cet espoir, nous le devons à la détermination et à la mobilisation des Syriennes et des Syriens que je veux saluer ici. C'est un espoir fragile, mais c'est un espoir réel, et c'est la raison pour laquelle la France se tiendra aux côtés des Syriens, comme elle l'a fait depuis 13 ans, depuis la Révolution, pour faire en sorte que cet espoir advienne. Et nous proposons également
Now let's head to Europe, where the Australian Liberal Party News has withdrawn from negotiations to form a government in Austria while offering parliamentary support to the Conservatives and Social Democrats against the far-right winner of the parliamentary elections. Now, with 28.8% of the votes, the far-right Freedom Party overtook the reigning Conservative People's Party with 26.3%, marking the first time the party has ever dominated national polls. The center-left Social Democrats came third with 21.1%. However, the FPOE has been unable to find partners to form a national government.
Ich habe heute in der Früh daher Karl Nehammer zuerst und dann auch Andreas Babler und auch den Bundespräsidenten darüber informiert, dass wir NEOS die Verhandlungen zu einer möglichen Dreierkoalition gemeinsam mit Schwarz-Rot in der Rolle eines künftigen Regierungspartners nicht fortsetzen werden. Wir sagen nicht Nein zur Verantwortung für Österreich. Wir sagen nicht Nein.
4 members of the prison's medical team and 1 guard were taken hostage by a prisoner on Friday, according to preliminary reports in France. The 5 staff members were taken hostage on Friday morning. The perpetrator is believed to be a prisoner with a homemade bladed weapon is the culprit. The special police unit have been reportedly dispatched to the prison. Meanwhile, France's Minister of Justice, Gérard Darmanin, on social media platform X confirmed that all available recourses have been mobilized and that he is monitoring the situation closely.
À l'intérieur, ça fait 3 jours qu'elle est avec son mari. C'est comme un parloir familial en fait. Dans la prison, il y a des petits appartements pour les familles. Et là, c'est le jour où elle doit sortir en fait. Donc on attend. Là, actuellement, elle ne peut pas sortir, on n'a pas de nouvelles.
Finally, the Tarascon public prosecutor Laurent Gumbau says the detainee who took prison staff hostage at Arles prison in southern France has been taken into custody after handing himself in. According to him, the prisoner is a 37-year-old serving at a 7- and 18-year criminal sentence. Gumbau added that the prisoner seemed to be expressing a desire to change establishment.
Déjà, je vous confirme que nous avons affaire à un détenu qui a 37 ans, qui effectivement purge une peine de réclusion criminelle suite à une condamnation d'une cour d'assises en appel, une condamnation définitive, de 18 ans de réclusion criminelle. La fin de peine est prévue au cours de l'année 2031 à ce jour. Il purge cette peine et d'autres condamnations pour d'autres délits connexes. À ce stade, donc, ce détenu...
And that's all on Beyond the Continent. Now you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.